I don't know if this audience is going to be familiar with the oh-so-famous Nigerian Prince scam emails. Basically, you'd have people claiming to be Nigerian princes emailing totally random people, trying to sucker them into some kind of pitfall. They'd say stuff like, "Hello my dear, I am Prince blah blah blah, and I have died and left my entire estate to you. Send credit card details for verification," and so forth. Oh my god, how are you actually falling for this? Surely you would have guessed this was a scam by now. Okay, you haven't. Okay, thanks, love you, bye. And of course, if you were born into any degree of computer literacy, you knew this was bogus, got rid of the email, or messed with them if that was your thing, and went about your daily life, I guess. Now, imagine the same kind of thing happening in the world of Formula 1. A Nigerian prince buying into a Formula 1 team, only to not hold up their end of the bargain, and leave the other party in limbo. Sounds too dumb to be true? You really think a professional Formula 1 outfit is gonna let such lunacy ensue? Well then, let me introduce you to Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim.
Who?
To understand the story, let's have a look at the team that was suckered into this whole deal. Founded in 1978, Arrows weren't the most successful of teams, shall we say. Sure, they had 1 pole position and 9 podiums to their name, including that 1 freak performance in Hungary 97. And they weren't short of credible drivers in its history, although these were the same people that hired Taki Inoue, so that kind of tells you where they were at money-wise. In the mid-90s, a Scot by the name of Tom Walkinshaw decided that he wanted to buy into the world of Formula 1, and so he approached, as you may have guessed by now, Ligier. His master plan was to buy the team outright and take it back to its former glory that we saw with Jacques Lafitte and Patrick Depailler. All very romantic stuff, but they told him to get lost. And so he went over to Arrows, who were in need of some coin, and he bought 51% of the team, thus becoming TWR Arrows. All of this made it easy to lure Damon Hill for the 1997 season. I mean, it was helped by Williams dumping him on his ass at the end of 96, but hey, you gotta take what you can get. And Walkinshaw had grand plans to turn Arrows into a championship winning team. Okay. I mean, this optimism teetered on the happy-go-lucky to the straight-up delusional. So aside from that 1 freak instance, the team floundered that year, and it did the same for 1998. But then 99 rolled around, and this is where Prince Malik comes in. Born in Nigeria. I mean, duh. This dude claimed to be a prince of the Igbo people and attended private education in the UK and the United States. He's always been in and around the car industry, including working at Hyundai for 6 years, and apparently amasses great fortune through various brands and telecoms and so forth. He also raced cars, with an apparent appearance in the 24 Hour of Le Mans, driving in a Lamborghini under a pseudonym which, you might be shocked to hear this, was never verified and likely to be somewhat bullshit. But one thing that wasn't quite bullshit was his intent to get into Formula 1 in a sort of behind-the-scenes role. When Japanese constructor Dome tried to get onto the Formula 1 grid back in 1997, he was part of that venture as a backer. But, of course, the whole thing never happened and fell apart like the Dallas Cowboys.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you?
Not content with the same kind of stuff happening again, the Prince saw Arrows was in need of money and was a team that, unlike Dome, was actually on the grid with 2 cars that were running some of the time, and so approached them with a promise of $125 million in exchange for a third of the team. This was tempting for a team like that, but you do have to pay caution to the wind when you're dealing with a Nigerian prince with a sus cash origin story, in the same way that you'd pay caution to the wind when boarding Graham Hill's airplane. But Walkinshaw seemed to buy into that bill of goods and accepted Prince Malik's offer, with Malik convincing private banking firm Morgan Grenfell to tag along in the venture. And so when the Grand Prix circus rocked up to Melbourne for the first race of the season, Arrows turned up with a livery that was goated, and I'll not hear any blasphemy against it. It had Repsol in the front and T- on the side pods. T- was Malik's brand, and if you haven't heard of it before, you're not really alone there. On one hand, he claimed it was a sort of brand where companies could purchase the naming rights to use on their products and distribute as T-. He stated that he roped in the likes of Lamborghini and Ducati into this whole venture, which confused the hell out of them because they had no idea what was going on. And on the other hand, he claimed that T- was an energy drinks company. Again, an unknown energy drinks brand, and although they did have a few cans floating around, it was noticeably hard to find outside the team's pit garage or the boot of Malik's car. This all sounds a little too familiar. Prince here also hired out a PR agency to tail him and help promote the brand and project him as, oh geez, I don't know, a prince. But there were still just so many questions surrounding the brand. In the lead up to Imola, there was this sort of countdown thing on the side pods, along with the Mission Winnow-esque logo arrangement, and Malik had planned to make money through the energy drink as well as selling the brand name. But if you witnessed the 2019 season and you saw the freak show that went down in Haas, let me tell you, not much is different in the script over this one. The only real differences in approach and appearance, one looked professional, and the other looked like Santa if he was a born-again biker. But while he certainly looked more professional, he was about to skimp out on the money end of the bargain. T- were bringing in no money whatsoever, and with the team struggling badly with the cars. Not surprising given that it wasn't much different from last year's car. The last thing they needed was to be conned by a Nigerian prince into sponsorship from a pseudo company, only not to be paid. Then again, if you get into a deal with a Nigerian prince who's offering you 8 digits, you kind of deserve what's coming to you. Eventually, the prince just completely disappeared from the paddock and was nowhere to be seen, because that's how disappearing works. In September, Tom Walkinshaw took back control of the shares, and Morgan Grenfell, which also kind of disappeared soon after, replaced the T-minus signage on the cars. The sad thing to take from all of this, however, was that this whole fiasco effectively led to Arrows closing their doors midway through 2002. And the really sad part about all of that is that by 2002, they were starting to get somewhere. Maybe not challenging for wins, but they were better than previous years, and Frentzen and Bernaldi were driving decent enough. This also forced TWR into liquidation, which meant, among other things, the Holden Racing Team V8 supercar team over in Australia was almost harpooned altogether and had to be sold to its driver, Mark Scaife. I mean, yeah, you can argue that Arrows were always going to die given the sport wasn't getting any cheaper or fairer to teams not named Ferrari. And even though that team had only been around for about 30 plus years, we do kind of miss it. So what about the prince? Well, he has got up to some shit since he piloted Arrows into a hillside. In 2008, for example, he went to court in Texas over stealing money given to him to put toward a young up-and-coming NASCAR driver, Robert Richardson Jr. Now, while he was eventually cleared of all the charges, he was required to post a bail of 35 grand thanks to false statements he made on the lead up to his trial. He also apparently oversaw the sale of Lotus to Proton in 1996. He then went to work for the Bridge, a renewable energy company in the United States, before a warrant was issued for his arrest after it was claimed that he had stolen over 200 grand during his probationary period. Today, however, it appears that he settled back in Nigeria, still the face of energy companies such as Niger's Infinity. He's gotten married to the girl of his dreams. He's the heir to the and he's also apparently running for president. This dude is an oddball, and he caused nothing but trouble in Formula 1. But there was one thing that he did get right. In an interview preceding the season, he declared that there was no reason why the next Michael Schumacher can't be black. Well, here we are 20 plus years later, and we have the stats killer that is Sir Lewis Hamilton. You gotta give him props on that. He was right. Let's just hope that his run for presidency isn't rivaled by the other energy drinks dude. Know what I mean? Anyways, thank you all for watching. Drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you're awesome, and always remember, keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a menace, and as always, I'll see you all later.